Hey guys, I'm doing my video on body lift tips and tricks now. So I did my body lift about 5 years ago, so this is not a chronicle or a documentary of me going through and doing the body lift, but I am going to give you tips and tricks and explain how to get it done. First step is to conceptually understand what you're doing, and I've kind of described this in a couple other videos, but I'm going to throw a couple graphics on screen to help explain. So in the first graphic, you have the red box, which is basically the body or cab. You have the green squares, which represents a cross-sectional view of the frame rails that is holding the body and cab off the ground. And then you got a very basic little diagram of your suspension and your tires. You also have a little blue zigzag line there, and that's representing a generic hose that could be attached to something on the frame rail and also something that's attached to the body. So now I've jumped ahead to the next graphic here, and you see you still got the body and cab represented by the red block, but now instead of the green frame directly next to it, you have the blue blocks. And those are representing the body lift pucks, or body lift blocks as some may call them. So you're actually putting a spacer, a physical spacer, between the body and cab and the frame rails. So you can see with that same hose that was once connected to the body and the frame, now all of a sudden you have a 2-inch or a 3-inch gap between those pieces, depending on which size lift that you went with. So now that you conceptually understand what you're trying to do with the lift, you need to go ahead and start obtaining parts. You can order full-on kits from 4x4parts.com, or you can get a more basic kit from pnpengineering.com, which I can't necessarily recommend that you go with those, but it is an option. I did a do-it-yourself kit, so I pieced it together because the heart of the kit is really just the blocks and extended hardware. So the first thing that you're going to need is 10 lift blocks. You have 10 body mounts, 5 on each side, so you need 10 total blocks. You want 3-inch diameter circle, and you want a 2-inch tall for the 2-inch lift or a 3-inch tall for the 3-inch lift. I did the 2-inch lift, so all of my tips and tricks are going to be specific to that. A lot of this is going to carry over to a 3-inch lift, but there might be other things that you have to take into account. So the next thing that you need to get is the proper hardware. You need to get bolts that are essentially 2 inches longer or 3 inches longer to accommodate the extra distance between the body and the frame. So for 6 of the body mounts, you're going to want to make a quote-unquote bolt sandwich, as I'll call it. So you're going to want a bolt that is 7/16 inch in diameter and 6 inches long. I use a thread pitch of 14, but you're going to pair it with the proper lock nut anyway, so as long as the threads on the bolt and the nut that you purchase line up, then you're good to go. You're also going to want 2 washers for each of those bolts. So essentially you're going to have a washer right next to the bolt head, you're going to have the body lift block, and then you're going to have a washer on the bottom of the body lift block, and then you're going to have the lock nut on the bottom of the bolt, sandwiching it all together. Now for standard SAE hardware, you want to get grade 8, which is the strongest that you can get. You're going to need 2 metric bolts that are going to be M12, and that's going to be a 1.25 thread pitch. You're going to want it to be 180 millimeters long, and you want that to be grade 10.9, which is the metric equivalent of grade 8. It's the strongest metric hardware you can get. The last 2 bolts are also going to be metric, so they're going to be an M10, 1.25 thread pitch, that's the fine thread pitch, and then you're going to want 160 millimeters in length. Now these 2 bolts are going to thread directly into a welded nut somewhere in the body, so you don't need to buy corresponding hardware with that. So before you get to lift day, you want to go ahead and do some prep work. So first you want to familiarize yourself with where the body mounts are. Body mount 1 is going to be the one all the way on the front. It's easy to see on my truck since I have an open bumper, but it's going to be right here in front of your front tires. And the truck is symmetrical, so everything that's on the passenger side is also going to be on the driver's side. This mount right here has what I called earlier the bolt sandwich. It's a bolt with a washer that goes through the body mount, a washer on the bottom, and then the lock nut. Body mount number 2 is going to be in the floorboards of the front seat. So if you peel back the carpet, you can see a bolt head right here. Now, you can see the bolt head because I have removed the plastic cap. So before you even get started to the lift, make sure that you go ahead and peel your carpets back, and you might have to hammer or chisel out the plastic cap. It was a pretty tough plastic for me. But you need to get access to the bolt head. This mount will also have a bolt sandwich. You can see there's a bolt head and a washer right on top of it. So if you want to look at that same body mount from the outside of the vehicle, it's just right beneath where you saw it. It's right behind the front tires. It's right over my rock slider, right underneath the pinch seam here. And that's body mount number 2. Body mount number 3 is going to be right at the seam between your front and rear doors. This one is one of the metric bolts that will thread into the body itself. If you just go underneath and look up, you can see where that body mount is. This is the one you also got to look out for an extra bracket that could be in the way. Body mount number 4 is in the back seat. You're going to need to remove the seat cushion and peel back some carpet. And this also had a hard plastic cap on it. This mount will use a bolt sandwich, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a washer right up against the bolt head. The bolt's going to go through the body mount, and you're going to have a washer on the bottom and then the lock nut holding it all together. Body mount number 5 is going to be right behind the rear tire, right next to the shackle to the right. If you look up, you can see where I've got a bolt head and a number of stacked washers there. This is one of the metric bolts, and it threads directly into the body. So since I keep mentioning all the extra work of relocating things, how about I give you an actual list of what needs to be looked at or taken into consideration before doing the body lift. Number 1 is going to be the heater core hoses. That is on the back side of the engine bay, and they go into the heater core, which is underneath the glove box on the passenger side, and it goes down to the engine block, which is attached to the frame. These two hoses have a plastic type clip that hold them together. You want to remove that clip to make sure the two hoses have enough room to freely flex back and forth. You want to make sure you are watching these locations as you are actually doing the lift. The inlet and outlet of that heater core are just plastic, and they will get brittle. And if you have any binding from these hoses in the clip, or if you have extra binding on here because of the way the clamps are put on, you can break off the inlet to that heater core, which means you're going to have to take apart your entire dash to replace it. The next thing to look into is going to be the radiator. Now, I have my radiator relocated, and honestly, it's a pain in the ass. You have to take a grinder and cut off some of the sheet metal on the bottom side of the radiator that's attached to the radiator support. And then you have to weld or bolt or screw or find some way to attach a piece of angle iron, basically, that drops down 2 inches. At the bare minimum, you need to at least loosen up the clamp and just break free the bind of the inside of the hose to the outside of that radiator inlet. Now, I had my radiator non-relocated for 3 years, and I had no issues other than it kind of sat crooked in the engine bay. But you don't want to have stress on the hose or the clamps as you're lifting the truck, because that can cause you to break off the inlet to your radiator. Because like the heater core, it's a plastic inlet, and it's not fun to have to replace something because you didn't think to look at it ahead of time. So the radiator is obviously mounted to the body, but so is the fan shroud, since that's mounted to the radiator. But the fan itself is attached to the crankshaft on the engine. So on this shroud is a lower half circle piece of plastic, and you need to remove that, because otherwise when you bring the fan shroud and the radiator up, that fan is going to rub on this bottom piece of plastic. So I just removed this little lower shroud, and I never bothered putting it back on. Even after I relocated my radiator, I could theoretically put it back on. I just haven't gotten the motivation to go through with clipping a little piece of plastic on. But you want to make sure you move that before you start lifting your truck. The power steering reservoir right behind the battery is attached to a bracket here that is bolted to the inside of the fender. The bottom of the hose goes to a hard line on the frame. All you really need to do is just lift it up and out of the bracket while you do the lift, and then see what type of slack you have in the hoses when you're done. For about 3 years before I relocated this bracket, I just left the reservoir loose, and I just used a zip tie to hold it out of the way. It had no functional problems, but I eventually decided to shorten the bracket and drop it lower to the fender. The air intake hose that goes to the intake manifold is of course attached to the engine on one side, but then it attaches to the air box on the other. The air box has 3 brackets that hold it to the fender. I removed one of the 3 brackets to allow the air box to have a little bit more flexing so that it could stay better aligned up. While you're doing the lift, you're going to want to loosen up the hose clamps on it so that hose can slide around, and once you're done lifting the cap, then you want to go back and readjust any hoses and tighten down the clamps. So on both of the front tires, you're going to have these fender liners here. Well, they're no longer going to fit. And what I have here is actually what they call gap guards, which I spent way too much money from 4x4parts.com, and they don't look good and they didn't fit good. So I just would recommend taking off the fender liner here and just leave it open. It'll probably help with engine cooling too, since you can actually dump heat out of the engine bay instead of having it contained. But you will have more mud and water splashing into your engine compartment when you're off-road. So go ahead and look on the driver's side of the engine bay and try and look down underneath the brake fluid reservoir. Follow it down a little bit further. It's kind of hard to see back here, but this is the steering shaft. It comes out of the steering shaft of the steering wheel and it goes into the steering gear. You're going to want to loosen up these bolts before you do the lift, and that way as you lift the truck, the spline shafts can actually lengthen and readjust itself within those collars. So this is just a collar, so you want to loosen up the bolt so the spline shaft can slide. The bottom side of the steering shaft has a bolt that is easy to access from the fender well once you peel back the liner. So if you peek behind the front passenger side tire, you'll see this steel bracket here, and that's a shield that's protecting the brake lines. You can see my brake line is unclipped from this brace, and that brace or bracket is bolted to the frame rail. So you want to remove this shield and you want to unclip your brake lines and just make sure that they're not going to be bound up or pulling on itself as you do the lift. I put the shield back on when I was done, and I just had to unclip one line from the bracket here to make sure that it was in its free state. If you follow these lines all the way back on the frame rails, there are other clips that are bolted to the frame, and it's good practice to go ahead and unbolt those while you're doing the lift, and then evaluate how much slack you have in the lines before bolting them back. So similar to the brake lines on the passenger side of the frame rails, on the driver's side frame rail, there is a similar type bracket about midway down the vehicle that will have the emergency brake cable on it. That's a good thing to just loosen up and unbolt it so that it has some free rein and move as you're doing the lift, and then reevaluate how much slack you have on the cable before reattaching it. One thing that you may want to keep an eye on is going to be the gas fill tube. So behind your actual gas fill port is going to be a hose, and that's going to come down here, and that'll eventually go to the tank. So the tank is frame mounted, and of course your fill port is going to be body mounted. I didn't have any issues with this, but it's something you just want to keep an eye out while you're lifting the cab to make sure that it's not pulling off of one end. So somewhere under the truck, right around the drive shaft where it connects to the transmission, is what they call the drive shaft safety hoop. This is just a hoop that bolts on to part of the body, and it loops down underneath the drive shaft. The sole purpose of it is to catch a drive shaft if for some reason the yoke on the drive shaft to the transmission breaks off, so that way you don't go pole vaulting your truck. You can extend the hardware by putting a 2-inch spacer, some type of bushing or a sleeve on it, and extending that loop down. I ended up just taking it off. I've never had any concern at all about losing a drive shaft. Now, one more thing to look out for is going to be in body mount number 3. And some vehicles have an extra bracket that's just a little piece of steel that bolts to the body mount on the frame, and it bolts that to the actual body itself. You're going to need to check for that bracket and make sure it's not going to bind anything up. You can just take the bracket off while you're doing the lift, and then you can just buy some generic bar stock at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can drill a couple holes and cut it to length if you have an angle grinder or a sawzall or anything like that. So if you look at the rear bumper here, it's bolted to the frame rails. And that means that as the body goes up, you're going to have to shift your bumper up on those mounts. Now I have a custom bumper, so I just built it to be the correct height. But if you have a 1/2-inch drill bit that is capable of drilling through steel, you can remove your rear bumper and you can actually just re-drill holes that will line up with the existing mounts, and that'll cause your bumper to shift up and stay lined up with the body. That's the easiest way if you have the stock bumper. So the front bumper is mounted on the frame, and it's supposed to line up with the fenders up here, which are going to be body mounted. So you're going to need a method for relocating your bumper and raising it up 2 inches. Now, of course, mine is a custom off-road bumper, but the easiest way to relocate your front bumper is to take some 2-inch square tubing and drill some holes through it, and that can line up with the existing mounts on where the stock bumper is mounted, and that'll just space the entire bumper upwards. The last thing to look out for is going to be your transfer case shifter. The shifter goes directly into the transfer case, which is mounted to the frame, but it has to stick through a hole in the body in order for you to reach the control. Because you're spacing the body upwards, you might not be able to reach for low. In my truck, all I did was remove this little plastic trim and take a look underneath the shifter lever here, and there's a big rubber boot that gets in the way and was blocking access for the lever to go all the way back. Some people have had to take a Dremel to the actual hole behind the transfer case to make sure they can shift all the way into 4 low. But I found on my truck it was just the rubber bunching up, and I just cut some out of the way, and it's been fine ever since. So now that you're familiar with the task at hand, and where all the body mount locations are, go ahead and start doing some prep work before you even get to lift day. Go ahead and break out those plastic covers that are keeping you from getting a wrench on the body mounts. Go ahead and spray anything you can with PB Blaster, any of the body mounts, and then also you're going to want to spray the spline shafts on the steering column, both the upper and lower junction. Cosmetic things such as the front bumper can easily be removed ahead of time, and go ahead and figure out how you're going to relocate it. Go ahead and have a plan for what you're going to do, whether it's relocating something, getting a longer hose, or just zip tying your power steering reservoir off to the side like I did. You know, a lot of my relocations, I did that several years after just because I wanted to have a bit of a neater engine bay. It's not necessarily required for the lift, but you just got to understand what you're doing. I sprayed PB Blaster on all of my body mounts every day for about 2 weeks before I even did the lift. It did make it quite a bit easier though to break that hardware loose. I even recommend putting a wrench on all of your body mounts before you even go to lift day, so that way if you know you're going to have some stubborn hardware, you know about it ahead of time, or you can wait to spray it with more PB Blaster, or make sure that you have a strong enough wrench or a breaker bar to get those body mounts loose. Doing as much of the prep work as you can ahead of time will make it a lot easier on lift day, so that you can actually spend the time lifting the truck and not dealing with all of the other odds and ends.